Non-duality is bad. I'm going to present an argument about why I think non-duality is bad. For 4 reasons. Non-duality is opposed to critical inquiry, and it thereby insulates itself. Non-duality is internally incoherent and contradictory. Non-duality, well, the evidence doesn't support it. And non-duality is psychologically manipulative, like Christianity. I'm going to go back over these 4 points in a little more detail. And in doing so, I'm going to come to a bit of a closer definition of what I mean by non-duality. After all, to criticize non-duality is kind of like criticizing philosophy in general. I'm not going to criticize philosophy in general. I'm going to criticize a specific philosophy or a specific philosopher or philosophers. So when I criticize non-duality, it's not that I'm criticizing the general idea of non-duality, whatever that may turn out to be. I'm going to be criticizing a specific form of non-duality, a specific popular notion of non-duality. And I'm going to quote specific authors. Authors such as Nisargadatta and Ramana Maharshi, and Western authors, popular authors on this subject such as Adyashanti, John Klein, Robert Adams, Tony Parsons, Leo Hartong, and others. And in the course of this series, quoting these authors specifically, I will be illustrating what I mean by the non-duality that I'm criticizing and how the 4 points that I've mentioned are illustrated in these quotations. First, my first point is that non-duality is opposed to critical inquiry and that it thereby insulates itself. And this is also related to the problem of defining what non-duality is. Because if a subject is irrational, if a subject is opposed to critical inquiry, then it's going to resist the process of defining it, because a process of defining a subject is a process of critical inquiry. And so what one often finds in pursuing a definition of just what non-duality is frustration. One will say, well, is this the definition of non-duality? And no, someone will say, no, that's not the definition. That's not what it is. Well, then is that the definition of non-duality? No, that's not the definition of what it is. In fact, I've found that there is a prevailing tendency among those who advocate non-duality to claim that it's not even an explanation, it's not an idea, it's not a concept, it's not a theory. Well, yes it is. However fuzzy an argument it may be, however fuzzy an explanation, it is an explanation. It is a set of ideas. However illogical or internally incoherent and contradictory, it does in fact constitute an explanation, an idea, a conceptual model. A conceptual model that reflects an experience. But the question is, what is that experience? And does your explanation accurately reflect that experience? Or is your explanation false? The third point, that the evidence doesn't support non-duality. That's related to this. You may have an experience, you may be mistakenly attributing characteristics to it that it doesn't properly possess. So you may have what you think of as evidence, but the evidence is not what you think it is. The evidence doesn't support your explanation of it, or rather, your explanation isn't supported by the evidence.